Το τελευταίο μας θέμα για απόψε έχει να κάνει με την ομιλία του πρώην πρωθυπουργού της Ελλάδας Γιώργου Παπανδρέου, η οποία πραγματοποιήθηκε στο πλαίσιο των τακτικών διαλέξεων του Οικονομικού Πανεπιστημίου του Λονδίνου LSE, στη μνήμη της καθηγήτριας οικονομικών Eva Coloni στο London Metropolitan University. Η ομιλία έχει ως θέμα «Ένα Ευρωπαϊκό όνειρο αναβάλλεται, πώς να αποκατασταθεί η υπόσχεση της Ευρώπης». Ο κύριος Παπανδρέου ανέφερε ότι μερικές από τις ιδέες που θα μπορούσαν να αλλάξουν τη λειτουργία της Ευρώπης είναι ο πρόεδρος της Ευρωπαϊκής Επιτροπής να εκλέγεται απευθείας από τους πολίτες της Ευρωπαϊκής Ένωσης, ώστε να αποκτήσουν μεγαλύτερη επιρροή στη διαδικασία. Εδώ να αναφέρουμε ότι μετά το τέλος της ομιλίας του απάντησε σε φοιτητές του LSE για το μέλλον της Ευρώπης, αλλά και για τις επιλογές του σαν πρωθυπουργός της Ελλάδος. Εδώ θα παρακολουθήσουμε ένα απόσπασμα από την ομιλία του κύριου Παπανδρέου.
To see politics as the power to imagine a different world. I say that because today politics looks much more like a balancing act on a trapeze, where we politicians have to balance very different weights and issues, and any wrong move could be precipitous. We get good at it, using media, polling, speeches, sound bites, but that is not what politics should be. So, what could be some of the things we need to do for a different Europe? First, I think we cannot easily continue with Monnet's method, no matter how brilliant it was. That was to incrementally change Europe, to build what I might call Trojan horses, if you like, such as the euro, that are incomplete and avoid looking at the political issues head on, but that somehow carry Europe into the future. We need to make more bold moves. Secondly, Europe can no longer be a project created and run by elites, or that's at least how people feel about Europe. Project Europe must be owned by its citizens. Finally, Europe must be able to deal with the major uncertainties and challenges of our time, to rise up to the issues that will dog and threaten our existence. And climate change will be our biggest challenge. So let me give you a few more specific ideas. Well, first of all, I think we still have a long way to go before we have a real fiscal and political union. But before we reach these goals, we need to have a definitive solution to the crisis, which is still ongoing, by doing whatever it takes. We must move on issues such as the banking union. I would further propose a grand bargain for the countries under adjustment programs, or the peripheral countries. Debt relief in exchange for deep reform. Secondly, we need to reassess the development strategy across the European Union. Because right now the imbalances between North and South are only getting worse, and the South is not only in deep recession, but it also is losing its productive capacity for the future. Amartya Sen, Joe Stiglitz, and Professor Fitoussi have worked on new indices of what growth should look like and what how societies should be measured in the future. Amongst them, of course, are issues such as well-being, equality, but also sustainability. So I would say, let's look for a European Green Deal, carried by the momentum of member states who are already setting globally ambitious renewable energy targets. Building on these successes, Europe can become an engine for green growth. We can leverage capital through project Eurobonds to invest in renewable energy grids, green transportation, information infrastructure, but also in human capital in education, research and innovation. And this would have a multiple effect. First of all, Europe would take the lead on the most crucial issue humanity is facing, which is climate change. Secondly, it would give a new purpose to Europe and inspire hope in a younger generation today alienated from the European project. Third, Europe would become competitive by investing in quality rather than increasing inequality, and would help complete the infrastructure for a true single market. Finally, Europe would create new, high-tech, future-oriented jobs. I say this because Germany's success, its vast current account surplus, more than even China has come with a price. It's been a race to the bottom in the labor market, which is why the recent introduction of a minimum wage is so crucial, not just for Germany, but also for Europe. Depressed domestic demand, which absorbs demand from the rest of Europe. Low levels of investment, which threatens future competitiveness. I don't believe this is a model that we can adopt, not only for other countries, not only for Europe, but even Germany. Sooner or later we'll see this as not the success of a model it so believes. Faced with increasing global competition, should Europe really emulate emerging markets that have low wages, little or no safety nets, no collective bargaining, few if any environmental standards, societies deeply divided between haves and have-nots? I believe this is not a viable or sustainable model. Not for us, not for emerging markets for a long time. So we need to invest in quality, and quality in Greece, for example, would mean investing in new forms of high-quality tourism, agricultural products, fisheries, construction materials, high-tech startups, and renewable energy. A third point which I would like to leave with you is we need to open up the debate on institutional changes in the European Union. Sometimes these debates have been very boring or very obtuse, but I believe we need to move forward in a more imaginative way. Altiero Spinelli could be called prophetic when he warned that the old privileged classes will attempt to rebuild the nation states in order to regain the balances of power and their favorable positions by targeting patriotic populist feelings. So what he was saying is, rather than capturing our citizens' emotions through populism, let us imagine ways to create institutions and policies that empower our citizens. With European elections coming up in May, now is a good time to think long and hard about where the EU is going and what kind of union we want to participate in. An increasingly hot topic here in the UK, where Eurosceptics are gaining ground in an in-out referendum, which is in the cards. I believe what Europeans want is a system that protects them from the imbalances and inequalities of globalization, a system that works in their interests, a system that creates equal opportunities, a system in which they have a voice, a system in which they have a stake. And that begins with democracy and the need to democratize European institutions. Well, we may need to give more power to Brussels if we want to integrate further, but only if we do so democratically. So I would throw out a few ideas. Why not directly elect a president of the European Union, an accountable leader to our citizens who can legitimately speak on behalf of the European people? Why not a two-chamber European Parliament one is being a representative of citizens, the other of nations? Why not tap into the unprecedented creativity and expertise and power of our citizens in Europe? European-wide referenda, online deliberation, crowdsourcing. These are better ways to use the internet than to spy on our citizens. More rotation in office, removing the undue influence of wealthy donors in politics. These are only a few ideas about how we can reclaim democratic governance and redistribute power to the people. Citizen juries were an essential part of the ancient Athenian democratic process and policy making, and they have been revived in many locations around the world. Why not use them in Europe for deliberating about our common European issues and problems? Why not fight racism and xenophobia by giving migrants and refugees a real say? Let us create a European citizenship for those outside our 28 members, but yet resident in the European Union. Instead of a Greek or a British or a German or Swedish citizenship, they could become a European citizen with rights to vote in European and local elections, empowering them and protecting them, integrating them and they may be the first bona fide Europeans. But before I end, and because of the huge unemployment, I have proposed what I call an Erasmus program for the unemployed. In the words of Monet, who said if he were to start again, it would be with education, let us create a voucher system for each unemployed citizen to choose to train and learn in any EU educational or training institution. Dear friends, the Nobel Committee was quick to remind us only a year or so ago, of the importance of our project. They were honoring such women and men, the Colonis and the Spinellis, and they were also sending out a warning. Don't abandon this project. If we do not want to abandon this project, we need to change our politics. From a politics of fear to a politics of imagination and hope. From a politics of division to a politics of understanding and debate. From a politics of polarization to a politics of cooperation. From a politics of elitism to a politics of civil participation. From a Europe of nations to a Europe of peoples and citizens. And we mustn't forget, Europe remains our best chance to govern our globe in a sustainable way, humanizing globalization, democratizing global capital, fostering the common values that will allow us to sustain our environment, our peace, and our prosperity. If not, globalization will undermine the basic principles on which European democracy was built. Thank you for your attention.
Αγαπητοί φίλοι τηλεθεατές, αυτά είχαμε για σας απόψε. Στο σημείο αυτό να σας υπενθυμίσουμε ότι μπορείτε να επικοινωνείτε μαζί μας τηλεφωνικά στο 020 82 92 7037 ή μέσω της ηλεκτρονικής μας διεύθυνσης info@hellenictv.net. Επίσης, μην ξεχνάτε ότι πλέον μπορείτε να παρακολουθείτε από το κανάλι 225 στα Freeview διαδικτυακά, αλλά και από το Rockbox της Sita UK, τις αγαπημένες σας ελληνικές και κυπριακές σειρές, τις τοπικές παραγωγές του σταθμού μας, 14 ελληνικά κανάλια από Ελλάδα και Κύπρο, αλλά και πολλές κινηματογραφικές επιτυχίες. Πριν όμως αποχαιρετήσουμε, ας ρίξουμε μια γρήγορη ματιά στις επόμενες εκδηλώσεις. Το Σάββατο 1η Μαρτίου διοργανώνεται η ετήσια χορεσπερίδα του ανεξάρτητου ελληνικού σχολείου Manor Hill στο ελληνικό κέντρο του Paddington Street στις 7 το βράδυ. Την Κυριακή 2 Μαρτίου, ο Σύνδεσμος Γιαλούσας και Περιχώρων διοργανώνει Γενική Συνέλευση με θέμα Απολογισμός του ΔΣ και εκθέσεις δράσης και οικονομικών στις 3 το απόγευμα στο Κυπριακό Κοινοτικό Κέντρο στο Wood Green. Την Κυριακή 2 Μαρτίου, ο Ελληνοκυπριακός Σύνδεσμος Εφέδρων Καταδρομέων Αγγλίας διοργανώνει το ετήσιο μνημόσυνο του Γρηγόρη Αυξεντίου στην Εκκλησία των 12 Αποστόλων στο Kentish Lane. Τη Δευτέρα 3 Μαρτίου, ο Σύνδεσμος Υπερηλίκων και Αναπήρων Enfield γιορτάζει την Καθαρά Δευτέρα στη 1 το μεσημέρι στο Ruth Whiston Center. Το Σάββατο 8 Μαρτίου, ο ποιητής Κώστας Καβάφης παρουσιάζεται μέσα από τα μάτια των μαθητών του Ελληνικού Σχολείου Kingston upon Thames στο Ελληνικό Κέντρο στο Paddington Street. Αμέσως μετά ακολουθούν οι ταινίες «Όταν η πόλη πεθαίνει» και «Τα βαποράκια». Τα προγράμματα που μπορείτε να παρακολουθήσετε το Σαββατοκύριακο είναι: αύριο Σάββατο στις 7:30 την εκπομπή «Ανέσπερον φως» που παρουσιάζει και επιμελείται ο πρεσβύτερος Σάββας Δαβίδ Βασιλιάδης. Αμέσως μετά στις 8 το βράδυ ακολουθεί η εκπομπή «Αύριο είναι Κυριακή» που επιμελείται και παρουσιάζει ο πρωτοπρεσβύτερος Ιωσήφ Παλιούρας. Αμέσως μετά στις 8:20 το βράδυ ακολουθεί η εκπομπή με το φακό του Hellenic TV που θα σας παρουσιάσει την ομιλία του Προέδρου Αναστασιάδη που δόθηκε στο Πανεπιστήμιο LSE. Επίσης, την Κυριακή στις 7:30 παρακολουθήστε τη λογοτεχνική εκπομπή του Hellenic TV Τεχνόπολης με την Άννα Κωστοπούλου και τη Μαρίνα Λιβανίου και αμέσως μετά στις 8 ακολουθεί η εκπομπή Πρόσωπα με τον Βασίλη Παναγή. Τη Δευτέρα μην χάσετε στις 7:45 το πρόγραμμα με τίτλο «Θεϊκές ομορφιές» που σας ταξιδεύει στα όμορφα μέρη της Ελλάδος. Την Τρίτη στις 7:45 προβάλλεται η εκπομπή «Δράξαστε παιδείας» που επιμελείται και παρουσιάζει ο πατέρας Ιωσήφ Παλιούρας. Την Τετάρτη παρακολουθήστε την εκπομπή «Chat and Clip» με τον Μάικ Μπένετ και τον Βασίλη Παναγή. Τέλος, παρακολουθήστε ο Μάριος Καμιναρίδης παρουσιάζει συνεντεύξεις από την Κύπρο κάθε Πέμπτη στις 8. Στο σημείο αυτό η εκπομπή «ΟΜΟΓΕΝΕΙΑ ΕΔΩ ΛΟΝΔΙΝΟ» έχει φτάσει στο τέλος της. Σας ευχαριστούμε που μείνατε μαζί μας και παρακολουθήσατε το πρόγραμμά μας. Περισσότερα νέα από την Ομογένεια του Λονδίνου θα παρακολουθήσετε στην επόμενη εκπομπή μας. Ας ανανεώσουμε λοιπόν το ραντεβού μας για την επόμενη Παρασκευή στις 8 το βράδυ. Μέχρι τότε να έχετε μια καλή εβδομάδα. Καλό σας βράδυ!